Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
So, if there's photogenic, like, people, that implies, like, we see things in photos, sort of. So, if we see things in photos, do you not see things in green and red? Like, how does that work if your eyes were cameras?
I'm extremely confused. Photosynthesis is a way that plants make food. Is that the answer you're looking for? They're green.
Are they? Can you see that color? Is that real? Are you sure it's not blue?
So it's chlorophyll. I mean, what I see, I perceive to be green. I think. There are some very pretty greens, like striking scorpions.
They are a green. Yeah, you're right. That is a green that exists.
If you choose to paint them that way.
Was that in a color line they used to have back in the day? Was striking scorpion a color?
Yeah, striking scorpion green.
It was, right? Okay, I remember owning that.
Yeah, it was an okay paint. It was did not cover very well. There are lots of better paints these days.
Like GW paints in general, you know, like when I was younger, were hit or miss. And the newer ones are fine. I think they've really refined a lot of their chemicals.
Yeah, I think the paint that I miss the most from the early years is Enchanted Blue. It's such a good blue.
Do you feel like
sad it doesn't exist?
You feel like a lot of those names are gone because they can't like get an IP on that name? Like Enchanted Blue isn't like
yes and no. So they used to use a different manufacturer, which is Coda de Arms. I think still produces all of the same paints. They were the old manufacturer for them, and they changed either different manufacturers or they started doing it in-house. I think they changed the manufacturer. And then the next time the GW paints changed, when they started going into foundation paints and stuff, they started making paints in-house. So,
right. And because they were all in on the hobby now.
Yeah. And I believe around the time that they had to start changing paint lines, they started losing all of their court cases for Eldar, and they couldn't like copyright Space Marine and all that kind of stuff. So then they're like, here's a Primaris Marine and Eildaris and Drukaris and Imperialis Sanctimus, you know?
Yeah, you're right. That is
these words aren't real. We can copyright them.
It's funny that it's funny we're looking at all the nostalgia because a lot of my other friends who play 40K have been watching all the second edition battle reports. So it's only a matter of time until we go like, hey, remember Kill Team 2018 and try to go back to playing that situation? Oh, yeah. I mean, I know some people loved it and I enjoyed a lot of it. I had a good time. But I don't know. I think we're in like the golden era of Kill Team, of skirmish games in general.
I definitely agree. I think that having support from the manufacturer and the company of the game is always going to be better than a forgotten dead redheaded stepchild. Because that's what 2018 Kill Team was. They're like, hey, here's one. Hey, 6 months later, here's a book. 6 months later, here's a book. And then a year later, here's a book. And then they're like, now this one is dead. Here's the new one that we will, since everyone was clamoring for more Kill Team, you know, like I feel like when it first dropped, they were like, holy shit, our box sold out. People like this game. And then, I mean, the same thing happened with Crit Ops, right? They're like, yeah, this should be enough cards. Oh
no.
And they still haven't restocked them. I mean,
I think that's just telling us that something else is coming out. Like, you know, if a new season's going to come, they're like, there's no reason to get the Crit Ops, right? Because they'll sub something new.
I could 100% see next season them having a new type of Crit Ops.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because there's no way we're going to have...
Because, I mean, if it's jungle, is it actually going to be... is it actually going... Or how Valrak says it's into the skies, or other people have said it's the floor is lava. We, in fact, at the AVTT, so we're recording this right after the AVTT. We we attempted our own rendition of a bunch of gantries.
I saw it. It looked
on
cool.
one of the tables. Yeah, it was fun. It didn't function very well. So
No, I don't
hopefully Games
imagine
Workshop
it did.
thought through it a lot more than we did with our 20 minutes.
That was the first draft.
An hour, 2 hours. Yeah.
And you guys went with it. Like, whatever. We could do better in the future.
Yeah. We definitely took a lot of feedback from that, and I think that we'll make a really good narrative map for LVO. So our narrative event is going to be popping because there's not going to be any competitive terrain other than maybe an Into the Dark set that goes into space.
We're going to be popping off here, just like we're popping off on the Squad Games podcast, guys. Hello. I'm Giacomo. He's Dakotah. All right, that's formalities. It's just us two today. So let's crack into some more things we're talking about. Terrain is cool.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, Giacomo, is we've taken a 3-week break from 2-week break, a 3-week break from recording.
Yeah.
Just coming right back. We had to recorded a bunch of episodes and then all heads down for AVTT, which was a blast. It was an absolute amazing time.
I hear it was a smash hit, but I was, I was unfortunately, the co was like, hey, you got to stay home. So that happened, I recovered. It happened, but it was there. I was so sad. I got to see everybody like posting pictures and playing. One of the homies out there, he was keeping it together and showing me stuff. So I, didn't go totally crazy. But
absolutely. It was, we had a lot of plans to have the stream there, and we were waiting every day to see if the COVID would leave. And it never did. So we had to cancel the stream, unfortunately.
Yes. I didn't recover till the Saturday night.
Yes, but that's okay. Next year will be bigger and better, and we'll still stream at future events.
Of course.
So unfortunately, we didn't get to see the amazing. There was 2 great games that I saw. There's a lot of great games, right? But like Alex Squires and Chris Bakke had a really great game. That was down to the wire. Last activation sealed the deal. And then there was another one and Chris Bakke and Orion Wolfong also had a rematch. So that was very exciting to see. So if anyone doesn't know, listening to this podcast, Orion took first place at LVO this year, one of the largest American tournaments. And so he came all the way from Baltimore to come and play. And then we also had Six-Sided Legion come all the way from Wisconsin to come and play. And we had a lot of people. We had 54 players. So it was 53. And then our homie Andrew from work, he showed up Saturday to shore up the team of 2 and make them a team of 3. So we had a full 18 teams of 3. So it was a great time.
Great time.
Yeah.
And you'll get to find more about that in the future episode coming up, because today we got a different thing planned for you. A little drum roll.
Surprise!
Woo! You want to tell them what it is?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Vet Guard.
Yeah, because editing a lot of stuff we have takes time. And,
correct. We still got to interview more people to bring something special.
So we'll have that for you guys coming up in the future. But today we do have Vet Guard because we wanted to talk about, do something a little bit we've done before where we go really in depth with the team, especially because Vet Guard, I feel like they're going to, have a renaissance again, coming back. And what better person than to have Dakotah, a man who's been playing them since the beginning, to walk us through that. And I would, the many times I've played with him, would say he is a wonderful player, a master of this team. He knows them so well, and I trust all his opinions when it comes to playing this team.
The other thing that I would like to say is that if anyone is having any questions or anything, this will hopefully be a very good guide for either learning how to play against the team or learning to play the team Vet Guard, which is and should be strike the fear into the hearts of many, because in the right hands currently this team can be devastating against any faction that currently exists, whether it's in the open on Into the Dark or anything that Games Workshop releases in the future. It seems as if Games Workshop does not want to nerf this beautiful baby of theirs, and I am all right with that.
It might just be the most perfectly balanced team in the whole game.
Outside of the demo mine, but yes.
No cap. For real.
for real.
But before we got that dog in me, right? That dog in me was sick this weekend. But before we get into all of that, let's go ahead and do some shout outs to our sponsors and affiliates. Woo! So I'd like to thank our
which we got more recently, which is exciting. Yes. Other than just FLG, we ended up getting a brand new affiliate. G, do you want to? I met them at Nova, and amazing people, amazing products. Do you want to say who that person is?
Yes. I'd like to shout out Goblin's Hut. You might know them from their sets of paintbrushes that they make, or the wonderful Dirty Down stuff that they make to really bring a lot of your terrain, your models to life and add that extra edge. So if you're looking to step up your miniature range, your miniature game, your hobbies tracks, you don't join a hobby track, you want to give that up, I'd suggest going onto their website, exploring what they have, and picking some up. And while you're there, at checkout, you can enter the code SQUAD10. That's SQUAD10, SQUAD10 at checkout. And that helps a little bit come back to us, and it costs no extra to you guys. And you're supporting the podcast, and you're supporting us, providing events for you in the future as well, which we really appreciate. And if not, you just want to buy some stuff there, they got some cool stuff regardless. Go ahead and check them out. Again, that is Goblin's Hut. We will have the description in the show notes, or the link to the website in the show notes.
Yeah, they have magic in a bottle, and that is their rust colors. All of their technical paints are amazing.
And if you haven't already seen Dakotah's terrain, his Into the Dark set, he used a lot of Dirty Down in there, and man, it feels rusted.
Yeah, if you feel like you're gonna get tetanus if you touch it.
It really does feel like that. It looks cool. Definitely check it out. It's wonderful. And then we'd also like to shout out Game Envy. Game Envy sponsored us this last weekend, helped us out a lot when it came to the AVTT. Dakotah, you want to give us a little more information on them?
Yeah, they Game Envy, we're going to have an interview with their founder and lead product designer, Kit. And he is an awesome guy. Also met him at Nova, and he was a charm to talk to. And we're going to have him on the podcast here in the future as well, because they have something very exciting to announce. That I am going to be purchasing one for my wife. But outside of that, they sent us 6 brush sets. They sent us a bunch of hand holders and like for your miniatures to hold them, and some replacements for that. And we couldn't have done all the hobby stuff that we did without them. I'd also love to shout out Games at My Place, Woo! Which is where we hosted the tournament. They were absolutely amazing, as always. They used to be called Gameology in any of our past, but they recently changed ownership for the better. The current ownership's very happy. It's the same leadership that was there, but they just changed names, and they provided us with a metric ton of Monument hobby paints, actually 96 bottles for the hobby, for all of our hobby stuff there and we were able to give out a bunch of paint to every single player who won, which we will get more into later. But those between Game Envy, Goblin's Hut, and Monument Hobbies, because we got their paint, and Games at My Place, it was an absolutely stellar event. And also, we can't ever forget FLG. They run some of the biggest events in the entire US, outside of the biggest team tournament in the US, at least possibly in the world. I think that we own that right for Kill Team. So if you guys are looking to come to the best Kill Team tournament on this planet, you're gonna have to plan for next year, because it's gonna be big, it's gonna be wild, it's gonna be amazing.
That's SoCal, California, everybody.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
All right. And then the last people I'd like to mention and shout out is our wonderful patrons on Patreon. They help us do what we're doing here, put the time in, and we really appreciate you guys. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Without them, we would be broke.
Don't worry. All of this goes back to the hobbyists, to the players out there.
It does.
Helps us keep doing this stuff for you guys.
And run events.
And run events, the big ones, so that we can keep doing this. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Whew, man.
So, what do you want to know, man?
I want to know a lot because I always enjoy the concept of humans overcoming incredible odds. And Vetguard is exactly that. Mm-hmm. Sure, you could argue Casterkin are the same. Nah, they're specialists. Vetguard are veterans. They weren't trained with anything special. They learned on the front lines. This is one of the teams from the very beginning starting box. I know a lot of people were probably buying orcs in the last few months, but maybe it's time for those people to start buying Vetguard as well. Because what if's not a pretty good counter against orcs?
Vetguard, they are not bad into the orc menace.
Which is perfect. Two wonderful teams get to play against each other, and kind of like it was back in the day. Everyone thought the orcs were the box that have to have, and then turned out people figured out how to play Vetguard, and that was the team that was winning. Yeah,
Vetguard ended up winning the first LVO of 2020 after it was released by Ace. Really good team, and guess what? They've never been nerfed. Now, while other teams have been announced and have come out and are viably good, this team has never seen a nerf. In fact, I definitely think they deserve one specific nerf, which we will get into because it is a mechanic that you can abuse to win games.
Yes.
And it is not a feels good mechanic, but it is a mechanic that this team has, and it should be abused. Just like until Pathfinders get a rework, you can also turn one, if you can do it correctly, turn one Alpha Strike 26 inch or 20 whatever inch threat range on them as well. So
which will I love to hear it, and I want the players to know it. So the boogeyman can get a slight slap on the wrist. So Dakotah, you've been playing Vetguard since the start, but how has the team changed from when they were first introduced to where they are now?
So when they were first introduced, a lot of people overlooked them because they thought the orcs were better. And objectively, with one little buff, they became better. But I think that's meta dependent. They rose up and won LVO the first time in 2020 with Ace from Spain. Came over here to American soil and beat us.
Dang.
Good job. Yeah, very, very exciting. It really was good because it was a little catalyst to really help the players out here really start to take it seriously, right? The competitive meta, the competitive scene was not super big, but to have people come over here that are not in our same country, really lit a fire under a lot of people's butts, and in a good way. Like, we love Spain, we love their players, and we love Ace and everyone else. And it really was like the catalyst that started this drive, especially me as well. Yeah. So like from their first inception, winning the very first LVO, they really fell off because Pathfinders did what they did, but better objectively. Now, while Vetguard can beat Pathfinders, they are a decent match into Pathfinders, especially with all the Pathfinders nerfs. They still, Pathfinders were just more reliable. And with more and more mech teams coming out, Pathfinders could just do what they wanted better. And then Into the Dark came out, and it was really hard to figure out what this team could do with Into the Dark, especially with the horrible maps that Into the Dark came out with in the first time. And they're awful, objectively awful missions for Into the Dark. Yeah, and it was literally impossible to run a mixed event because of how low scoring the Into the Dark was, right?
And that was before the crit ops, right? Is what you're referring to?
Before crit ops, yeah.
Okay.
And then crit ops came out, sold out of cards. Awesome. Thank you guys. It's like they don't even want to use it. And then they retroactively also did a Crit Ops card pack for Into the Dark as well. Now, those were much better. They used Crit Ops. Crit Ops was objectively, it's a better mission pack than what it used to be. It really evened out, or also objectively made a lot of archetypes overpowered because they just rewarded you for playing the game rather than rewarded you for strategy. But security became probably one of the harder subsects to score. Now, it is reliable when you come in with a game plan, but I feel like when Crit Ops came out, Vet Guard took a big hit because security, especially with a lot of other tournaments doing the secondaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is not particularly great. But when now all the Games Workshop tournaments and other tournaments are doing strength of schedule, which don't get me started on that. We'll talk about it during the AVTT because in fact, if I did strength of schedule, all of the listings would have been different. Every single placement would have been different. It would have been absolutely insane. And it would have made so many people upset. So I'm glad I didn't. Yeah. So
security.
Security, I feel like really started a downward trend of Vetguard, and people stopped playing the team except for Poland. And I'm not really sure if they're super popular in Spain. But outside of Poland, they really fell off. Me, I just never painted another team, so I just kept playing my team. And like how I first got started in the Guardsmen, I'll get back to security in a second. Was I played Craft World because Eldar is and always was my first love, right? I saw them when I was 12 years old, 14 years old, and 12 years old. Was it 12 or was I 10? I think I was 10. Yeah, the year 2000. I was 10 years old. And
wow, that's so long ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I saw these Eldar metal blister packs, saw the Avatar. I really liked Terminators and I really liked the Eldar aesthetic. And I ended up going with Eldar and got to know their lore and all that kind of stuff. So in this edition, I started playing Craft World before the edition was good, before they got the buff and made them okay. And I had a horrible time because they were awful. They didn't play like old Kill Team. I took the platform that you're not supposed to do. And it was just not a fun time. I also played them only at a tournament, only having like no sleep in 56 hours because I was trying to make stuff to sell. And it was not particularly great. And then I came home and I was like, man, I kind of want to quit Kill Team, right? Like it's sometimes when new players are playing this game, the very first few games they play of this edition can be frustrating because it is different than every other Games Workshop game other than Warcry.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. And I understand that it can be frustrating, especially with a team that is bad.
Right.
That's why, I suggest people play a bespoke team that has a better chance of winning rather than like Compendium Space Marines. Sorry, Andrew.
Get the intercessions, Andrew. Buy the intercessions.
I am Andrew.
They're not expensive. You already have to split the box with your friend.
Yeah. So, it was there was a lot of fun stuff with that in particularly, right? So I came home, I bought a bunch of models from hardcoreminiatures.com.
Woo!
That were all action hero based, right? And I already had some Catachans, like
from Gaunt's Ghost, right? Did you have those too?
Yeah, I have Gaunt's Ghost, and I had the Catachan special edition. So I had the Sergeant Ripper Jackson.
Yeah.
I have the limited edition Power Fist guy, who is essentially just Dylan from The Predator. Carl Weathers, and with the binoculars, and I think that's about it that they released for Catachans. And I wanted to go with the Catachan list. I was listening to Tanith First and Only at the time, So I painted them so I started painting them up like Tanith, and then I took them to LVO. Little did I know they were very, very good. I just was like, I'm just going to go and have fun and just play narratively. And in the end, ended up winning my pod, went 3-0 day one. And I was like, oh, that's way different than going 1-4. That was, I kind of like this game now.
Okay.
And then because I gave the game another chance and ended up liking it a lot. So at LVO, I think I was running hot shots every single game. I was running no grenades. I still got 16th place out of what I think there was 38 players. So it was not like I obviously was not running them to the best of their ability, but they were still good. And I think we even talked about how they should be run when we first started this. And my opinions have changed drastically since I've been playing them more and more and more. And this team is actually super heavily complicated and can be really slow. So at a tournament, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of practice to be good at this team and be on time. Because that's another thing that's very, very difficult to do, is to remain on time, especially with a large model count team like Colts, Gellerpox, Pathfinders. Anything with above 10 models can start to become difficult. So I think that their mental load is decently high. It's not the highest in the game, right? Warp Coven. But so between security and the new crit ops, and between their mental load, how many operatives they have, and just the general. So imagine when Kill Team first started, and it was I don't know how else to explain this. We have a vat of salt water, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more water you add, which are more and more bespoke teams, the less you're going to take certain teams, right?
Right.
So just the sheer amount of volume of teams that have been added, security, this and that, is rough. And while people can disagree with me that security is not one of the harder TAC ops to score, I will argue with you, because have you ever played a team with Recon or Seek and Destroy?
Yeah, Seek and Destroy is play the game and get points.
So is Recon. Recon's Vantage, Point, Secure, Explore Rooms. They're super easy. Even Infiltrate has a couple easy ones. I would say Infiltrate is harder, but I would say that security has the most balanced. So they are difficult to score, and you have to come into the game with a plan. You can't just come into the game and just expect to do certain things. You need to know when and how your models activate and what way they need to do. And we'll get into that. So it's going to be a good one.
So now that we've gone over their history from then to now, what mistakes have you noticed new players who are just getting into the team make?
Firstly, it's every single person trying to take the team with 10 operatives. I don't know how many times I've seen that on Reddit. I don't know how many times I've seen that on other Discords. If you're going to take a team with 10 operatives, just take Kashyyykin, just take Star Striders. Don't even try to take Fedguard. If you're trying to take them in narrative, sure. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen the same exact question. And that's one of the reasons why we're making this episode, is so that people can come to a reliable source that knows the team extremely well, and we can just talk. And I think True is number 2 in the US with Vetguard. I am currently number 1. And while I don't think I deserve to be, I've just played in a couple tournaments. I know the team super, super well. And when we had a mirror match at Nova, we tied and I lost on tiebreakers. But we took the exact same operatives. We took the exact same, equipment. And the only thing we changed was, I think we put the rosary on 2 different people. So I think he put him on his leader and I put it on my demo man. So there is, I think, an objectively best way to play this team. And I think it does change from team to team. So I think that's just something that comes with experience, because the more you play this team, the better you will get. You know, it's kind of like playing Camille in the top lane of League of Legends or Riven. It's a hard champion to get good at. So this is a hard team to get good at, but the more you play them, the more variations you're going to see, and you just have to be creative and explore your options.
Okay. So that's good advice. And now I kind of wanted to bring something up, since you mentioned you kind of have to play the 14 man. If there was ever a time you didn't, for some reason, what other ancillary support would you say runs pretty hot against players?
I would never take an ancillary support outside.
Okay, so doubling down. It's just like, no. It's not a thing you do. It shouldn't even be a rule.
So when I play this team, in the local metas or anyone out here, I'm saying, hey, do you guys want to play a fun game? Do you guys want to play a competitive game? Like, what do you want to do? Right? Like, if they want to play a fun game, I'll bring like Compendium Crute. I'll bring all sorts of stuff, right? Like, I have like Compendium, Drakari. I have a bunch of other teams. But if somebody tells me they want to play a competitive game to get better, then I will play Vet Guard. And that's how I've always been. I'm like, hey, this is my competitive team, or like even in Magic the Gathering, this is my competitive deck. I win on turn 4. These are all my other decks. What do you want to play? You want to play competitively? Do you want to play for fun? Like, what's going on? Right.
Right.
And it's different because some people want to have a challenge game. Some people want to get better. Some people just want to have fun. Right.
Okay.
So no, I would never take it. I don't play this team for fun. I do. Because I enjoy the team a lot. I enjoy the operatives a lot. I love the storyline of this team, but it's not a team that I'll ever take easy on somebody. And I think that's something that, I just do is like if I take Space Marines, I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to charge your guys. Vet Guard, I'll probably do the same because I might be experimenting, but ultimately I am going to be trying to win because I am experimenting, trying different tactics. So that's the number one problem is take 14 operatives. If you can't afford a box, 2 boxes, buy a different box.
That's fair.
That's simple.
There you go. And I'm sure you can probably find enough Vet Guard players to split a box with if they want extra dudes.
Or get a 3D printer and 3D print them, or find someone on Etsy to do it.
There you go.
They're not that expensive.
Okay, that's good insight, because I don't know. I thought you might have had an ancillary support, but all right, this is the way to play them. Okay,
this is the only way to play them. And I mean, like, if you want to play them with 10 operatives, like, you can have fun, but just realize you're not going to be playing them competitively. The second biggest oopsie that I think people make with this team is a lot of times they use the spotter with indirect. And when I first started, and like sometimes you can just forget. Like, I've done it in a tournament before where I forgot and I had to take a couple steps back, and I just like completely forgot that this dude does not have indirect, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me why the spotter doesn't have indirect. It's a mortar. It's coming from above. It also doesn't make sense that it works on Into the Dark. It just doesn't. But a lot of people play the spotter as having indirect, and it does not. So anyone that's listening to this, the spotter does not have indirect. So it has Barrage, Unwieldy, Blast 2, and is silent. So it takes 2 AP to shoot. It's Barrage, so it comes from above. Blast 2 inches, and it's silent. So not only is it a hard gun to shoot, but also like it can do work because it does it's 5 attacks hitting on 4s and does 2-3 damage, right? Anything with blast is good. Objectively, there's a few things that we'll talk about in Turning Point 1 that I look for to try and cheese and get as many things as I can. And the spotter is one in ways that you might not expect.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you actually want to go over that now?
Yeah. So the spotter is such a valuable. He is, in my opinion, the second best operative on the team. I used to call him the best operative on the team. But I think playing the team more, exploring the different options, he is the second best operative on the team. Turning point 1, a lot of the times, if I'm fighting against most teams, I pair him with the sniper. Most people will pair him with the plasma, but in the end, your plasma is going to get shot and die. Not worth it. I'm sorry. I'd rather trade my plasma at the end of turning point 1 and then them kill it on their first activation, use only in death and kill something else on turning point 2, and then remove the model. Or have it move up and score a point if it can't do anything. But objectively, my plasma, the way I play it, I do not pair it with the spotter very often. I'll pair it with the sniper. I'll pair it with the grenade launcher if I'm going into cults, if I'm going into Gellerpox especially, or anything else that has a large horde. And I'll use the sniper to run around and commit genocide. Because if anyone doesn't know, the spotter is also basically another plasma that you have on your team, especially if you have reroll 1s, and you can fire on engage. So like you can run around and shoot it like a machine gun. You don't have to shoot it while sitting in the back. You can be aggressive, especially into like void dancers and all that kind of stuff. You can just nuke a clown, so like
I'm sure there's some people listening that would love to actually nuke a clown in real life.
yeah and I am one of them.
Oh, do you not like clowns?
No, I don't.
I love clowns.
Then why don't you play void dancers?
Because they're not like clowns. I like clowns,
Okay, so you're
like
the
clowning on the homies. That's what I'm about.
Okay, all right, I see.
Anyways, back to the spotter.
So the spotter, a lot of times you can use him as a scare tactic. So you can put him in an area and deny areas of the board, right? You can be like, oh, the spotter's over there. I don't want to move my models over there. You can also give your spotter +1 APL at the beginning of the game, move your spotter and either group activate somebody else or shoot the barrage. A lot of people laugh at me because I shoot a 2-3 barrage weapon, but if I see something that I can hit 3 or 4 models with, I will do it. Even against Space Marines, I don't care. It has 5 attacks. Any kind of damage against Space Marines is good damage.
Facts.
Yeah. So like you have to whittle them down, and any little amount of damage will do it. So like sometimes what I'll do is if I see you place a model or misplace a model, like put them in the open or somewhere you don't think they can get shot, I can put the spotter behind heavy cover, like completely hidden. And then when you use what's it called? I called my TAC ops different things. But into the breach.
That's the right one.
Yeah. Into the breach. When you use that, you can actually dash your spotter up, still behind heavy cover, in engage, or even light cover, and unconceal, and then you can make that heavy that blast shot against an operative that somebody can't see, or they didn't think they could get shot. And I mean, still 5 attacks is better than 4 attacks, with a frag grenade. So, from the grenade launcher. So I still think it's objectively a little better. But yeah, even though it costs 2 to shoot, you're using the dash to get to where you can see the model, and then you can use your barrage, right? Mm-hmm. So, and what's great is that if they're behind a Chalnoth building, if they're behind something else, and you can just, possibly see them if they're unengaged, you can, the damage comes from above, so they don't get any cover saves, even if they're behind cover. So they don't get to retain anything. So, it can be a very useful weapon to just look for. It happens in maybe like 5 to 10% of games, but it's something that should never be overlooked. The spotter is a super, super useful weapon. I always bring them on Into the Dark as well. So, because Into the Dark, you can just sit him behind a door and open it, or he can just run around and do things he doesn't have to spot. So, and he's also super good at still flipping somebody to engage that's within an inch of a wall, so you can still shoot him. So, yeah, you can just camp areas and make sure he's out of range and just lock a door down. So, I mean, he's definitely not bad in the slightest in anything. But But yeah, I would definitely say you pair him with the grenade launcher against horde teams. You pair him with the sniper and most other options. If you're going against custodes, you put him with the plasma. But even then, like, I still think the mortal wounds are better than, because like you're never going to overcharge into a custodian with a shield, right? So,
right.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's one of the other big ones. I think that another mistake people do is that they don't use clear the line enough. I think clear the line is really, really good. And I think hand axes are underrated. I know that people think that's a joke, but it's not. Hand axes are really, really good. In fact, like sometimes when I just play for fun and I'm experimenting, I will take all hand axes just to see what this team can do. And if you take a fixed bayonets, which I call fight, you get a reroll ones. So you get ceaseless in close combat, and you have clear the line, which is you automatically retain one hit. With a hand axe, you're automatically doing 3 damage. You roll 2 dice. If you get a crit, you're doing 5. You're doing 8 damage before your model's dead against pretty much most models in the game. And if you group activate, you could group activate 2 models, and then you're hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, auto-retaining 1. There's a lot of crazy stuff you can do in melee with this team. So I think it's heavily underrated. It's not great. It's not good. But I definitely don't think it's bad, to say the least.
I mean, Space Marine punches aren't bad, right? Because it's 3/4 for the hand axe, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I ran an all melee vet guard into you, and I sacrificed like 3 hand axes into one operative, and then he lived on 1 wound and killed like I think he killed like six vet guard. It was quite fun.
It was quite fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I think that those are some of the really big mistakes that people don't think or they don't use. And I also think that like there is a specific list that the last one, because that was 3. I think it was 3. If not, then you're getting a fifth. You're getting a 5th one. Don't take the medic into melee opposition. There's no point. You can't save a model that died in melee.
Right. And I think that's something people forget about medics in general.
Yeah. So like in Defelgor, why would you ever take the medic? Ever.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Like what they can shoot a model with a plasma. Okay, cool. Is your medic there? I don't know. Like you have like a 5% possibility. Yeah, I don't think it's worth into Gellerpox, into quite a lot of matchups. And in fact, there's been quite a few times when I've been questioning whether of taking the medic at all in certain games. Just because like sometimes like I think I was fighting commandos, and while commandos are okay at shooting, if you position correctly, you don't get shot too much. Like the only reason why you take the medic into commandos is because you're worried about turn 1 dynamite. Because if they kill certain operatives on turn 1, you're kind of screwed. That's the only reason why. The rest of them, you're probably going to die in melee. I mean, they might kill you in shooting, but the way that it works usually is that they're going to do a lot more melee than shooting. So I've been questioning whether or not just to take the flamer instead of the medic.
I think you should.
Yeah, I probably should. And it's going to be one of my experimental games. Do you want to go over roster composition?
Yes, actually, what I was going to ask you next is what does a take all comers list kind of look for you? Like if you didn't know the team, but they said you're going to play against this opponent, you have to pick your roster right now. Like what would be your all-stars? Like your guys you take almost all the time.
So my sergeant veteran would be Severina Rain. I'm going to say my names of my characters because that's what I do.
Badass.
Severina Rain with a plasma pistol and a power weapon.
Okay.
I would take the confidant, who's Sergeant Ripper Jackson, which is a Games Workshop model, with either a bolt gun or a chainsword. Depends on how you want to play the matchup. If I was playing into anything, I'd probably just take the chainsword, because she can be useful in close combat. I rarely shoot with the model anyways. I use her for other things. She's probably the thing that I'm she's probably the worst model for me. Like the Confidant is the worst model for me to use. I don't use it super well, but there are certain things that I do with the model. That's one model that I want to get better with because I sacrifice her like a pawn quite a lot. I would say that another model that I would take always is the comms. And my comms is Machete, Danny Trejo. He has 2 giant machetes and he looks like he's screaming. So if he yells at you and he has 2 giant machetes, you better listen. So, but the reason why I take the comms is the +1 APL is too good to ever leave home. It's too good on too many models. You can put it on your Melt-A-Gun. You put it on your Plasma. You can put it on your demo, which is the main thing that you should be doing. You can put it on your spotter. You can put it on your sniper. There's so many threats in this team that you can practically put a +1 APL on any model at any time and it'd be good. Even on, I think against John Reese, Can You Roll a Crit in my last game at Nova, I put it on a standard model turn 1 who had a frag grenade, and I moved 9 inches past his smoke grenade and threw a crack grenade at his breacher boy's face. And he didn't have time to give the breacher boy. He saw me give because I went first, so he saw me give my +1 APL, and he was like, I can't give the +1 APL yet. So he threw a smoke grenade to try and stop it, and I had enough movement to get around it. So like on a grenade, you can move 9 inches and throw a grenade. And what's crazy is that they have alpha strike possibilities too. Usually I use my models to my auxiliaries to score points early on and sacrifice them as they should be because they are just guardsmen. But sometimes you can get a 14-inch. Wait, is it 14? A 12-inch plus 6, an 18-inch possibility of a alpha strike, because you can do into the breach 3 inches, give them +1 APL, and then they can move 7 with move 9. So they can move 10 plus 3, 13. So they can have a 19-inch threat range for alpha strike.
Yeah, because
if you choose to do it, with grenades,
grenades are wild.
Yeah, so frag or crack. But so you can use the comms for those. Never leave home without them. Absolutely the most like the Swiss Army knife in the Vet Guard kit. The Demolition Man is the best model in the team and needs a nerf. I don't care what anyone else says. I even say it. The model's weapon should not blow up through walls. This is my model is Steven Seagal, and he is a bad man in the game. He's a bad man in real life, and he does mean things to people. At Nova, I killed 3 Space Marines in one turn with him not one turn, but over the course of one game. Which is half the intercession team.
That's huge. One little guy blowing up 3 Marines is kind of a lot.
Yeah. At BAO, I killed 5 Felgor with him. So let me tell you a little bit about this weapon and why it is so good. The Demo Man has a demo mine that can be used multiple times per game. It has 4 attacks, hitting on 2s, 5/6 damage, AP1, detonate, and silent. So we'll get more into his strategies later, but essentially just that profile is ridiculous. Phobos have the same exact mine, and it can only be used once per game.
I know, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it's amazing. The Demo Man, if they nerf him to only once per game, I probably won't take him. Or if I do, he'll be even more of a suicidal bomb threat. He'll just be the bomb squig at that point. But the fact that you can do it multiple times a game is what makes him so good. And also the fact that it goes through walls. Doesn't make sense why it goes through walls. No other mine does. It should not go through walls. Now, it doesn't go through into the dark walls, but it will go through any open wall. So Octarius, which most people find competitive, you hide a bunch of people behind a wall, they're going to die. They're within 11 inches of him, they're going to die. That simple. It's really, really nasty. And Steven Seagal will even kill my own models and he won't feel bad about it. You know, if I see a shot where I can hit 3 Space Marines and I'm also going to kill my leader, I'm going to do it. I'm going to kill my leader and I'm going to wound and I'll probably wound 2 Space Marines and probably kill 1.
Worth it.
Wound horribly. It is ridiculous. So, it's a very, very good model. Never, ever leave home without it. I don't know how many I'm on right now, but the next one will be, I don't think, okay. We start to get in a little bit harder territory. We're going to go with the sniper next. Okay. And that's, for me, it's the model from the Tanith, first and only. Highland Larkin. And he has a long las. I see a lot of people out there using, what is this called? I want to call it the right thing. Overcharged lads guns, I believe.
Oh, the ability, right? It's a stratagem or something.
Yeah. Or the hot shots.
Hot shots is
no. Yeah. The equipment. They use hot shots on the sniper. You can't. Don't. You literally just can't. It's only not. Yeah, you literally can't do it. It's against the rules. So stop doing it. Please. So that is another big whoopsie that I see people making. We go on. So the sniper is just an amazing model. It has a wonderful profile and just was probably the 4th or 5th best model on the team. Out of 15 operatives, it's definitely still an S category. Moving on to, did I already say the spotter? If I haven't said the spotter, it's the spotter.
Well, you've made it pretty clear you love the spotter.
Yeah, that's Carl Weathers for me.
Let's throw him in there.
Yeah, spotter, Carl Weathers. And then we're going to move on to the gunners. So for me, every single game, I will always take the grenade launcher. For me, that's Chuck Norris. Why leave Chuck Norris at home? You never would.
Yeah, you're right.
He kicks people in the face. He has killed a gene stealer with a hand axe in close combat by himself in 1 activation. He's a monster.
That's already a Chuck Norris joke built in. Chuck Norris can beat a gene stealer with a hand axe in close combat, in arranged combat.
Yeah. And he didn't even do it. He kicked him to death. It wasn't even, he didn't even use the hand axe. I also always bring my Melta, who is Rambo. I will never, ever not play a Melta. The Melta causes so much board denial. It is a really good operative. It's a really good model. The weapon is fantastic. Even if he doesn't ever shoot, he stops people from moving within a certain range of him. Because if you use move, you have a 13-inch range of a Melta gun. You will kill a Space Marine, unless if you're Giacomo, you will whiff everything.
That was so lucky. Like, I don't know how I survived that.
Yeah, still hitting on 4s. Sometimes you miss.
And it was a trade. Like I fully expected. Like I gotta throw him in there. I can't let this guy move. So
the Emperor protects, right?
Yeah.
The next one I will.
Real quick. Who was holding the Melta again?
Rambo.
No, here's something.
Stallone.
Here's one thing I wonder. Sylvester Stallone was Demolition Man in the movie. I kind of wish he ended up becoming the demo guy, but I only thought about that right now.
Yeah. So in my mind, I was like, all right. So the original model comes with Big Bertha, the giant machine gun. And I was like, what do I put instead of this gun? And I was like, well, a Melta makes awesome sense because I'll never not use it. And it's such a good gun. A lot of times, if I ever choose a scored operative as a TAC op, I'll put it on the Melta or I'll put it on the comms. So I put it once on the spotter. So Those 3 models don't die too typically often for me.
Okay.
And usually a lot of games, most games, I'd say my melt is my MVP.
Good to know.
Outside of the demo man, Steven Seagal, bad man.
So next gunner.
Next gunner, I've only left off the table very few times, but I have done it specifically into pre-nerfed Felgor. This was the Meltagun. Oh no, the plasma gun. Who is Sarah Connor? She kills Terminators. She kills robots. She kills aliens. She kills everything with the plasma. So Sarah Connor with the plasma. When you do shoot. What is it called? Does it take aim?
Take aim or something.
Yeah,
where you reroll
move,
ones, right?
move, shoot, fight is what I call them. That's what
should have been that.
Yeah, that's what my leader calls out. Yeah. So, yeah, when you reroll ones, you overcharge. You get to reroll your ones, and if you kill yourself, the Emperor was not protecting. But ultimately, she's really good. Having AP2 into a lot of teams is really, really good. And a lot of times I will trade it turn 2, right? I'll pop out, make a shot. And then if she dies, only in death next turn. Or if I get first activation, I might just shoot her and then dash her back into combat. And then I have her to shoot again on round 3, So, only in death is by far they're also the best tactical boy.
Right, the in-death atonement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Flamer I only take into very specific matchups. Gene Stealers, I'll take it all the time. Any kind of a lot of hordes. So
okay, so it's good against hordes.
Killer Pox, all that kind of stuff. Into the Dark, it's also really good. But that's not part of my list. So the last 4 will be the las guns. So it'd be the assets. So we go with the Trooper, John Wick, Trooper, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Trooper, Bruce Willis, Trooper, Dolph Lundgren. Usually I give Arnold Schwarzenegger the crack because he's strongest. And then depending on how I'm feeling, either Dolph Lundgren, who's killed Apollo Creed, Bruce Willis, who walks on glass, and John Wick, who's just an innate badass, I'll give a frag grenade. Yeah. So it depends.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So for equipment for the standard list, you're going to be taking a rosary. You're going to take a frag. You're going to take a crack. Now that puts us at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So rosary's 2. Frag is 2. Crack is 3. This is the standard come all list.
Right.
Sometimes I'll take the chronometer, the Hermione Granger's turntable, turn back time, re-roll the dice. That lets you re-roll initiative once per game. Usually when I take it, I don't need it or it fails. I don't think I've ever had it. I think I've done it once where I was able to do it, but knowing that you have that anxiety in the back of your mind that when you need that demo man to go turning point 1 to blow himself up and kill a Space Marine, you know that you might have a chance to re-roll it. Sometimes it just makes you think better during the game. Or topographical chart, if you're looking to do 2 actions or you're trying to steal first turning point, so they're taking orcs, so they're probably going to take flip. So you take fortify, but you also really need to do a fly dash, or you also need to do a flip order. You'll take topographical charts so that you can either make a sniper's nest, or you can do all sorts of different things on Into the Dark. A lot of people don't expect Vet Guard to take the fly dash because every model can dash. So you can kind of cheese so they automatically think you're going to take one of the other 2. So sometimes you can just play fly dash when you're trying to get first turning point, just to steal initiative. Because to me, there's a lot of top players out there that really want to go second turning point 1. I don't care what map I'm on. When you're Vet Guard, you want to go first. Anyone who's playing against Vet Guard, every game they want to go first. And I'll tell you why. Every game you want to give pretty much the first activation, especially on Into the Dark. You take the comms and you give your demo man +1 APL. Automatically now, next activation, you have an 11-inch bubble around that model that he can kill anything. So now you have a huge threat bubble that is ridiculous for anyone to even think about coming into. Yeah, sure, you can try to bait him, with one Space Marine, but I'll just move my Melta out and kill him, and then let's see what else comes out. You know what I mean? So like, there are very specific things. There's a very specific turn order that you want to do with Veteran Guard, and almost always, depending, there are different things sometimes. Sometimes on loot, I definitely don't do the turn 1 activation. Steal points. I will steal points. I will use fly dash to go over barriers. I will do anything in my power on loot to steal as many points as I can. Turning point 1. If I can go 5-1, I will. Just to make sure that other people don't. So, but that's mission dependent. So, yeah.
Interesting. So now kind of when we're talking missions and layouts and stuff, is there a board type this team excels at, like, or one that you found is the style to play in, like Into the Dark or more open?
So Into the Dark, they excel at when there is a door in the middle of the map on the center line.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, you take secure center line, central control, and seize access point, and you just throw all of your models at the middle of the board. There are some Into the Dark maps that don't have that. It's very difficult. It becomes more difficult. Then you have to say, like, am I going to overcommit to one side and use escort operative and just really push down one side and not take seize access point? Mm-hmm. Am I going to like you have to, every single match, you have to have a plan with security in the current form of the game. You just have to, right? So like on Into the Dark, it's best to practice the maps and try and figure out what's going to be good. And unfortunately, your things will change depending on what you're playing against. When I'm playing against Gellerpox, Felgor, against these other teams, you have to change the way you completely play. That goes for everyone, not just Vetguard. That's just a pro tip. Like if you play against Gellerpox like you do any other team, you will lose because you are playing their game at that point. They want you to play like every other team.
Right.
Same thing with Felgor. Same thing with Cult. These big scary teams. The reason why they have such a high win rate outside of Cult are just busted. They want you to play the game normally and not play the game to beat them because they have a specific game plan to beat them. For open, I usually always take central control, center line, and seize defenses. And you just kind of hope there's a heavy piece in the middle and you just go for it. Sometimes you take escort operative, but it's risky because if your model dies, they could just turn everything to try and kill it. That's Rambo. He thrives in it when it happens. And he's just not scared. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's interesting. I was wondering how you decided that.
Yeah, I take the same thing every game. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, hey, you're good at it. You understand why it works, right?
Yeah.
Now, is there teams?
The reason why it works is because you have a demo man that has 11-inch threat range, and you're like, hey, do you want to come towards the middle of the board? Because that's what I own. When I played against Adrian he made one crucial mistake against me.
At Nova, right?
At Nova. I put my demo men down last. I was defender, and then he overcommitted to that side. Whatever side they put the demo man on, leave it alone. Because they can jump forward and plant a mine on the other side of the board, on the other side of a door, or they can turn 2, do the same thing. It's a lot harder to get across the board to the other side. So, for all you Veteran Guard players, there are specific strategies that you can do on Into the Dark that really help basically be like, hey, this is mine. Don't come here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to the other question. I was going to ask, what teams does Vetguard struggle against?
Felgor.
No, not against cultists.
Everything struggles in the cultists.
That's
right
fair.
now.
That's a dumb one. That's fair. That's fair.
So, Felgor and Into Dark specifically is a difficult match for them. I think Felgor on open can be if people are using Super Conceal spell rather than other spells to do other things. Felgor also have a lot of stun capability, so they can forward deploy Toxhorn, throw it at something to get your Demo Mine -1 APL. Now you don't have a 11-inch threat range. In fact, he's neutered. So anything that has like a lot of stun, I still think that Pathfinders can be difficult for them. I think other Veteran Guard is also difficult. I find Legionaries to be difficult. I have to play that matchup more often, but I don't think I've really won in the past year against Legionaries as a Veteran Guard player.
Wow, I didn't expect that. I thought you'd be awesome against elites.
Yeah, me too. But unfortunately, usually I play them on Into the Dark. I did play them, I think, on the team tournament. No. So for Vetguard, the reason why they're better than Intercession is that they have damage reduction built in when they're Nurgle.
Right.
They have invulnerable saves. Or I believe so. They have different things that they can do to kind of stop and neuter your damage. And Intercession doesn't. Durable's gone, right? So like they have certain things that are like, oh, your crit is now a 5. And also for me, they're just better in close combat, and they're way more efficient in killing, and also they have blast. So it's not just like Intercession, I have no blast, I will kill you one by one very efficiently. Well, I have 14 models. If I die 1-1, I'm having a great game, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Legionary, they can take blast. They have the corn dude with a freaking chain axe that can do reap. I'm going to charge 3 models. I'm going to kill a bunch,
Right.
So I find to be a lot more difficult. They're probably the hardest of the elite matchups into Vetguard. I think they will slap Justinian. I think they slap Intercession. Trying to think of other difficult matchups. So I put Legionary as a more difficult matchup, but not. I probably just haven't unlocked the code yet, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't think any compendium team is any sort of way good against them. Corsairs can be pretty sketch for sure. Because they have blast, they're really fast. They do a bunch of stuff that you want to do. Hand of the Archon can also be a little difficult, but if Hand of the Archon doesn't start to get rolling, then they don't roll.
Right, and then that team just kind of falls apart because they're still elf bodies,
Yeah, I don't find orcs to be difficult. I think I don't think I've ever lost to a Commandos player outside of John Reese at Nova. I think the times I've played a manual, I think I've tied, but we played more of a narrative. I don't think we've played competitively.
Dang, the world's got to see that match.
That would be great. Maybe we'll put them on stream when we start twitching more often. I think that'd be fun.
That would be fun. There you go, Emmanuel. That's your invitation.
Yeah. He can come over to my house anytime.
So you'd say those are probably the biggest struggle teams.
Yeah, currently, from at least that can come to mind. I think that like Exaction Squad, if they take a bunch of shields, can be, but like I just have more bodies, so like they can like pile in, and I'm like, okay, well I'll just pile in too. You can kill one guy a turn, and I'll still get central control. Hey, so like. And they also don't have long range. I'm trying to think of any other teams. Is there any teams that I don't find Gellerpox to be a counter. Gellerpox are good, so they are difficult to fight. But if you kind of know what you're doing into them, they are a tad bit easier. Like for instance, I don't find them terribly difficult. Of course, Orion, the Gellerpox King, is not on this side of the US, so I don't have to play against him too often. But I mean, I've heard Starstriders are really good into them, but luckily I've never had to fight Starstriders, and also Novitiates probably could be good into them as well. But Novitiates are dead and gone.
Yeah, I feel like no one plays them. Like I know people who own them, but they don't play them.
They really struggle into the current melee factions.
Dang, we're gonna get it. They're probably gonna have to get a buff or something. Then we'll get to do a deep dive.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so outside of the teams that you struggle, what's a team you see against, like on the opposite side of the board, and you're like, I'm gonna win this. No way I can lose this. Like 90%. Intercession, you see them and you're like, yeah, I got these guys. Get ready to get teabagged.
Yeah.
with as everything you explained ahead of time makes a lot of sense.
I asked them, have you prayed to the Emperor today? Usually they always say no. Because I mean, who does that? Just me. I'm fucking weird. Yeah, I don't think Intercession or any compendium team is good. Hearthkin can be scary as well. And they're not. Other shooty hordes can also do pretty well. But Intercession to me holds no bite whatsoever, because no matter how you play Vetguard, in my opinion, you should probably just win that match as long as you're taking the correct operatives.
Okay.
And taking the correct trades and hiding correctly, using the terrain to your advantage. Obviously, there are things that can change that. I think the only Intercession players I've lost to is I've lost to you and I've lost to my wife, but I can't say that I've lost to many other Intercession players, period.
That's true. I don't really know who else you might have lost to.
I mean, when we think about it, Vetguard were really popular at Nova. And where did the top Intercession player place? 26th.
26th, right? Or something like that?
Yeah. And it just shows that, like, even though they're good into commandos, Vetguard was like, nah, you don't get to play today. Yeah.
That's nuts to think about. Like,
I have too much AP and I have too many bodies for you to deal with.
Yeah, I actually do think that is one of the biggest weaknesses that Intercession has to deal with was there's only so many bullets, and there's only so many activations compared to what, and they get worse as you lose dudes. And Vetguard, who has 14 guys, is like, I really don't care about losing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dang, that's a big one. So I wanted to ask this. The team itself has had security its whole life. Do you feel that if they were to get Seek and Destroy, they'd become unstoppable?
Yes. If you add anything else to this team, they will be the S+++++ team in the game. They should not get any other archetype. I think that other archetypes should be nerfed to security's standard. And I think that also, like, game designers should make it so that crit ops can only be scored, like, one operative can score like one tac op per round, right? Maybe two, but like, I don't know. Gellerpox can score 3 tac ops in 1 round. Wow. They can get route, they can get rob and ransack, and they can take over one of your points with one of their own things in 1 round. It's fucking bananas. Like techno curse or whatever it's called. Like when they infect a bunch of markers. Like there's 6 of them. You get 6 tac ops in a game. Like one dude just scored half of them. Like security is like, oh, at the end of the game, if you hold this point, you got it.
Huh.
Like they're all about holding things. So like, I don't know. I think that the crit ops is good in some ways and poor in others.
All right. That's a good thought about it. So what changes then do you think could be made that would help out the team or make them more in line?
I think the first thing that has to happen is the demo mine needs to not go through walls.
Okay.
Plain and simple. Now, what a lot of people say is the spotter needs to be changed and changed to kind of like what every other spotter does. I'm not like thoroughly against that, but also like I kind of like, obviously I'm a vet guard player. I like that it is dangerous and it is different. And people have to play around that. So I don't necessarily think that should be nerfed. I do think that another nerf that could come to the team that would really neuter them is in Death Atonement, making it CP +1 every time you wanted to do it. But I don't think it's necessary. I think that the team has always had a decent win rate. Like it's always been in the 50s, and that's why they're a good team. They're always within range. They always have a good play range. If you put enough games into this team, you will be good. If you have the right strategies, you will be good. But the thing that holds this team back is a lot of people just pick it up and they play it. They can't figure them out good enough, or they play with 10 models and then they die and they lose. Maybe they just leave the game. So there is like an objectively best way to play this team. And yeah, I think that just nerfing the demo mine would be a good start.
Like just putting it in line with the rest of the demo units in the game.
Correct. Because I think if you went too much, the team would just be bad.
Right. You wouldn't take the team anymore. Play a different flavor of guardsmen. I
think another thing that could be done is taking one strategic, one of the operatives away for...
for ancillary. So like go to, instead of 14, 13.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that.
Yeah. Cause
if you go down to 12, I could also see that, but I feel like that would be a balance to balance one. I think that they should do the demo mine first, and then on the next data slate, if there's still a problem, go and take two of those away. And if they did that, I think any future changes to this team would make them possibly unplayable. Like if they then change the spotter as well, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to play this team again. I'll just play Casterkin.
Right. Something different like that just does it a little better. And I think you make a good point. Like if you just change the demo man to not blow up through walls, I think you really don't have to make much more changes. I think the team is fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, the team already has a high skill cap. If you're like, it would be essentially punishing the top echelon of players that play this team really well and really hurting any intro person into the team. That's why Pathfinders are hurt by a lot of their stuff. They're just so oppressive in the right hands, right? These guys are also very oppressive in the right hands. Like against Intercession Man, I know the enemy player is probably not going to have a good time. Obviously, if I roll poorly and they roll well, there's a chance, right? They can definitely take the win.
Sure.
But I definitely have a lot of confidence into that one. So, they can be super oppressive. Usually when these guys win, like sometimes you have to hold yourself back to stop yourself from tabling an opponent, because I don't like to table people because it's not fun.
That's true, especially for new people. No one ever wants to get just like absolutely blown out of the water.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel good, which is why I think the box set was really good, because Orcs and Vet Guard are really good against each other in a fun way. Like, I lose an Orc. You lose 2 Vet Guard. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Trading and it feels pretty even.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've ever made it that balanced in those box sets ever since, right? I feel like not nearly.
For what?
For like kill team box sets in general, I feel like nothing has been as good as Octarius. Like, not saying the teams are bad inside them, but when it's like the 2 matchup teams,
Well, I definitely think Chalneth was the worst box to ever come out for the game, because they were both so overpowered
at the time, and when still overpowered.
It took a while for them to come out. I mean, Travis Chang took Pathfinders, who's objectively one of the best Pathfinder players in the US. He took him to Nova and didn't do as well, but he had a good time, which means, and he said that, the team is now playable on Into the Dark, but they're not like overpowered. So they still really struggle on Into the Dark. So as long as this multi-format terrain system is going to be around, which I don't see it going away. At least I hope you don't, GW. I definitely think that Pathfinders just need a rework. But yeah, what was your question again, G? I apologize.
No worries. The previous one or the one I was going to next?
The previous. I don't know if I answered it.
You definitely did. Don't worry.
All right, we're good.
So now I kind of want to move over to something a little more personal, but still kind of regards to Veteran Guards, since you would be probably playing them as a TO, because I know you do a lot of the tournament organizing for what we do here. How do you find time to play? Because I mean, I know you're just so busy either getting stuff set up or building stuff so that you can sell or that you can use at the next tournament.
Yeah, or with my wife,
or with your wife,
or my son,
or your son.
Yeah. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I had to quit one of my jobs, is because my wife needed more help at home. So the easy answer to your question is I don't play this game.
Wow, and you're this good with Vetguard.
It's because I just play one faction. And also my current job lets me think about this game all the time. And I do get to talk to a lot. I am blessed enough to be able to talk to a lot of really good players in the community and the scene, especially on the West Coast, right? A lot of them are saved as my favorites in my phone book because I like to call people more than I like to text. And
That's
if you're one of my friends, I apologize because you will get phone calls from me, not texts. Because I'm a talkative man. Yeah. So I don't get to play a lot. I think that when we get more set up to a regulatory like standard, when we start streaming, I'll be able to start playing a lot more. I feel like if I practiced, I could have done better at Nova. Like I think I could have been better than 8th place. But like, I think that the only games I've played, I haven't played any games outside of tournaments this year. And I think I played in 2 San Diegos. So that's 8 games. I played 8 games at Nova. No, not Nova. 8 games at KTO. And I played 8, 9, 10, 11 games at so I've played like 25, 26 games. Oh, and then I played a couple games at Hammer of Wrath. So that's, I think 3 more.
Wow.
So I've played like 29 games this year, so
it's not a whole lot.
No, it's definitely not. If I got to play a little bit more, I think that not only would I have some of the rules down better, even though I'm a TO, sometimes some things still confound me.
They happen.
Like at ABTT, people would come up and say like, "Hey, I have a Felgor question about when it dies from an Overwatch and this and this and this," and I'm like, "Let me go ask an encyclopedia," and I'll go
to find Chris Baki or something.
Chris Baki, Alex, Jimmy, and I'll be like, "Yo, this one's weird. You're a Felgor expert, Orion." And he's like, "Yeah, man. This is it." I was like, "All right, thanks, bro."
I mean, that's the wonderful thing about these players too. Even at top tables, they're like, "Yeah, I can explain that real quick."
Yeah,
they don't mind.
Yeah, and so sometimes like you do get these really weird questions, and some people are like, "Oh, I have no idea." And you're like, "Okay, well, you either make a snap decision on the moment, and then you can come back and fix it." Yeah, so there are some weird rules calls and stuff, and every TO gets something wrong because usually when there's a rules call outside of visibility or line of sight, it is difficult, right? To always get the right answer, because usually they're a weird question. It's something, no one's ever thought of this, when somebody probably has, but yeah.
That's interesting. Well, now, since the year's kind of almost over, we're getting to the end of our season. Are you looking forward to any events that in the following year? Any events in the following year? There we go.
So, me as a player, because right now all eyes of our entire staff are looking at LVO. Like, it's
pretty much the next thing.
SoCal Open, even though it's a silver ticket, and the West Coast Championships, they're both speed bumps on the way to LVO. I don't mean to say that lightly. They're going to be fantastic tournaments. They're going to be a lot of fun, but all of our time and resources, schedule planning, product management, all this kind of stuff, content, poster making, all of our extra time is going to be going towards LVO. So outside of things that I'm TOing, I had an interesting conversation with Orion. He was one of the original founding members of Kill Team Open. And, Kill Team Open 3 is not happening next year. So the door is open that to pair up with possibly, Orion or other ex-staff of Kill Team Open to make Kill Team Open 3 happen. And I don't know if it would happen next year or possibly 2025, but it is something that we are talking about to see if that might be something that Squad Games wants to do. But games that we're probably going to play at, I would love to take my wife to Nova. Nova was a lot of fun, or Adepticon. Or if Ben from Battle Brothers Tabletop is going to run a big event in Florida, it would be fun to go revisit Florida and see Florida Man in real life, because I'm sure we'd see him down there when we're walking around.
Good.
Yeah, thanks. So there's also New York Open. So I would like to travel to one East Coast event next year, not two like I did this year, but just one.
Same.
And yeah, so those would be in the running. And if any of those organizers wanted to help us get out there, then I would not say no, as we are content creators. So, and I know tournaments have done that in the past for content creators, but I would say that it would probably be one of those events. Adepticon would be a lot of fun because it is, renowned. I'm not a big fan of, I've never been a big fan of their tournament format for Kill Team. They've always had like weird things or did like pods, and I don't know. I think last year they did something a little bit more normal, but to me, I just don't know what they're going to do. So it's a little bit more sketch if I was going to go play. I would love to go to Nova, New York Open, or something that Ben would throw. So that would probably be my East Coast event. My West Coast events, I would love to travel to BAO, which is an FLG event. We had record numbers for BAO this year. I think we had 28 players, which is good because every other year it's been sub 12. So hopefully Chris Baki's going to be running that event. So it should be a real blast to actually go and play a tournament under Chris Baki's tournament. I've never been to one, it's going to be a great time. And I love to see it grow. We're going to push SoCal to go. They came down, so we need to return the favor.
That's fair.
SoCalians, right? Let's head up to BAO next year to the Bay Area and make it a really big tournament. And then I'm also planning to go to Kill Scream next year in the Pacific Northwest. And I would hope that they would return the favor and come back down to the AVTT. So I think those 3 events are definitely events that I would love to attend next year. How about you, Giacomo?
You just mentioned Kill Scream, and that's exactly what I want to do. And I've already been toying with a redesign of how I do my intercession. So that'll be topical. We'll talk about that later in the future.
Sounds good.
So very fun. I want to do that. I'd like to go either to Nova, is because you guys made it sound super fun from the last time, and I've been to Adepticon before, but mostly I did like a lot of the like the courses, and I was just looking at vendors. I didn't play in tournaments, but I wouldn't mind playing in some tournaments because Adepticon's a lot of fun. Schaumburg, Illinois.
Yeah. I mean, if we were able to get any kind of like help getting out to these events, I'm sure we could make more East Coast events happen, right?
Sure, because it's planning, it's money and time, and we do what we can, and we make it happen, and it's just fun to meet the community members that we normally can't meet because we're always in SoCal. Though going up north might be a lot easier,
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. I mean, I will say that one of my favorite things of Nova was just like people recognizing my my voice or talking to me and be like, "Hey, man, I listened to it. I listened to the podcast. Thanks." Like those, like I don't know if you guys know that, but that's like a huge. We really enjoy that. So if you know me or G and you're at an event, come say hi. It boosts our self-confidence.
Yeah, we'll say hi back.
Yeah.
Oh well.
There's a couple more strategies that I would like to get into.
Lay it on us. Lay it on us. I was going to ask you if you have anything you wanted to share with us about Vedguard.
Yeah, there is. So on Into the Dark, some of the biggest strategies that I focus on is I will nearly every single game give the +1 first activation, +1 APL, and every round to the demo man. And I usually will group when I place models. I always have the comms, the demo man, and the confidant and the leader all in the same group. And the reason why is the comms is going to give the buff of +1 APL to the demo man. The leader is going to shout out an order to everyone. The comms will never move. The leader can do whatever, but the biggest thing what you do is that you group activate your confidant with 2 APL and your demo man with 3 APL. You walk open, you use move, so you have a 7-inch move. You can get to pretty much most doors on the map. You can open the door with the confidant and place a mine on the other side. Or if an enemy model's already moved to that door, you can walk up to the door, open it, move the demo mine 7 inches, place the mine, dash backwards, and then blow it up. And then the thing is that you have to remember is that you also have Into the Breach. So turning point 1, a lot of times you're going to have an even larger threat range because you're going to get that extra 3-inch dash to get both of those models closer. So now you can get to any door that's within 10 inches of your zone, and you can drop a mine, 11 inches away. So you have a 14-inch threat range. And a lot of people don't see it coming. And a lot of times you can set up a turn 2, go through 2 doors and blow somebody up because you can open a door with the confidant, have the confidant in range of opening the other door, use move again, move a confidant up, open the second door, move the demo man in, plant the mine, blow up your confidant, kill him, and kill whatever's on the other side of that door, which is usually quite a few models. Yeah. So, those are that's why you just don't go on that side. Unless if you have, a lot of AP, invulnerable saves like Custodes or something like that. But even then I'll why not? I'm going to try it. So, that is one of the biggest things for Into the Dark. That's a really big combo. Sometimes I'll use the spotter and the trench, the spotter and the sniper, and I'll just put them in my deployment zone looking at a door. If somebody comes through that door, I'm going to shoot them, Mm-hmm. And I'll just leave them in my deployment zone and, just wait, because you can lock down an entire side with that as well. Sometimes if you dash them forward, like I've been doing lately, they become in range of enemy charges and stuff like that. So I think I'm just going to leave them in my deployment zone. Your sniper can also just run around and kill stuff. So Into the Dark, that's a really big thing. On open, loot specifically, use a fly dash to get over barriers, get over traverse, use Into the Trenches to forward deploy your models, steal as many points away as you can, turning point 1, just to make it so that, if you get 4 points and your opponent only gets 1, they have a really large uphill battle. Now, a lot of times you will start to dwindle on models pretty quickly doing that, so you have to be careful. But a lot of the times I find trading an ancillary support, which you get 4 extra models for points, is not bad. Getting 4 loot points or getting 4 points, 1 for each model or 2 for most of them, is not bad. You can also look for alpha strikes. So you can forward deploy a crack grenade, give them +1 APL, move your 7 inches, dash an extra, 3 inches. So that's now 17 inch move. And then you throw another grenade. So now you have a 23 inch threat range, which is the entire length of a board. So there's quite a lot. The medic I always keep nearby my spotter and my sniper. I'm not super creative with the medic. In fact, the medic and the comms usually do things late game because everything else is dead. And another pro tip that I would say is don't be afraid to lose models. You have 14. Trade them for points. Trade them for kills. You can if you trade a model for just a point, you can do that because you have 14 models. Space Marines, you cannot.
That's true.
Yeah, if you go 1-for-1 for the Space Marine and a Melt-A-Gun, or 1-for-1 with a Space Marine and a Plasma, that's a great trade because now you have 13 models and they have 5. You know, it's a great trade. So there is, don't be afraid to lose models. I would like to say that also another pro tip is change up your matchups into when you change up your matchups into Felgor or any of these other models teams and you drop your medic. Take the Flamer. The Flamer is great. A lot of people really like the Zealot. The Zealot gives you the 5+ critical hits. Cool. All right. So you're making your Plasma hit better. You're making your Sniper hit better. Okay. They're already going to kill stuff. They're already going to hurt stuff. I'm not worried about them doing anything. I'm worried about putting more blast, putting more damage as out as possible. Your Flamer can be a area denial. Sometimes I'll use the Flamer in a Vetguard v Vanguard match. I didn't against True, but I thought about it. I probably should have. Yeah, it's not a bad tool. It's also really good on Into the Dark. So the only things that I change is going into Felgor, I will drop my, or into other melee teams. A lot of times I will drop the comms and I will take my hardened or a flamer. And those are the only other 2 operatives that I ever consider taking. I never take the bruiser. I never take the demo. I mean, sorry, the zealot. I just don't. I've taken the bruiser in narrative games. That's once per turning point when he fights. In the resolve successful hit step of that combat, you can ignore the damage inflicted from one normal hit. So he's a great model to put Rosary on. He's probably the only other model that I would do it on. I would take in melee because you could ignore 1 and then Rosary ignore 2. And he has the Trench Club, which does 3 3s, hitting on 3s. And it has stun. So, I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. The Hardened, I much rather have the Rosary on specifically. I put them on. I put the Rosary on 3 different models and only 3 different models. I never put it on anything else. I'll put it on the Hardened Veteran because the Hardened Veteran already has a Feel No Pain of a 5+. And they can ignore any and all modifiers to their APL. So it's a really good model to put a grenade on. It has a bionic arm, so it hits on 4s, does 4 or 5 damage. So it's a little power fist. So you can charge an orc and expect to live. I've done it many times. I've also I also put the Rosary on the Demo Man because I've done it multiple times where I've blown up a model and then first turning point, they're about to charge this model. I plant a mine and explode and I expect to die. But if I have a Rosary on it, all I have to do is roll 2 1s out of 4 attacks. It's happened. If I roll 2 1s, or even you can spend a CP to try and roll another 1. It's just like a reverse 6+ save. your model will survive. And then you're alive on 2 or 1, right?
Right.
So I'll put him on him, or I'll put him on the leader with the plasma. The plasma and the leader's one of your most versatile units because it's the only model in Kill Team that you're allowed to take both a power weapon and a plasma pistol, which I probably expect them to change in the next edition. I don't expect that to stay. I feel like that was an oversight. You can probably either take the plasma pistol and a chainsword, or in the future. But right now it's great because you're great at melee. And one of my favorite things to do with this model is to you can basically shoot a Felgor or kill a Felgor in melee, or get it low and then charge it with melee. And then let's say he's frenzying and you're like, okay, cool. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to kill your leader now because why would you charge him? All right, cool. They activate on their turn. You just save it. You save your CP. They kill your leader in melee, or you don't die and you just have 2 life left because you crit, right? Right. So when your leader dies, then you use your frenzy, your special frenzy, only in death. Because you haven't activated. Well, this would be like, so at the last activation, you would move up your model into a Felgor, kill it on their turn. They're thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to kill your model. They kill your model, and then you use only in death, and now you have a free movement to move forward into their lines. Plasma pistol, a leader. Plasma pistol, the Toxhorn. Do something else. Yes, your leader's going to get removed, but again, you're trading 1 model for 2 models, which is good for Vetguard.
Incredible for yeah.
So there's a lot of good things that you can do. I don't think that there's too much variation in your list building outside of that. I think you need a total of 16 or 17 total models to build. So the 10 that I said before and your 4 alternatives are your Hardened, your Flamer, and your let me look. Hardened, your Flamer, and your the other one that I said. Yeah. So those are my last tips and tricks. I do think that you probably need 20 to 30 games with this team to start to really get good. And then you have to retrain yourself on how to play on Into the Dark, because they do function differently. And you have the reason why it takes so many times is because you need to know when to activate models, what models to put next to what other models. And then sometimes on some maps, there's no heavy cover in your deployment zone. So like you have to spread out, so like you have to play with a lot of different things because you have 14 models. So sometimes it can be hard to hide all of them. And I definitely don't suggest ever clumping against Pathfinders. Spread out and let them kill a couple of your models. That's okay. You're going to lose a couple anyways if they get the blast off. So the same thing with orcs. Like, don't be afraid to spread out. Don't be afraid to have your models further in your deployment zone, because you can still into the breach move up. You can forward deploy all of your barriers 3 inches, move a bunch of models up to that line, move your models from the back forward. So now your models are spread out equally across the entire deployment zone. If they spring the dynamite, you should never let them ever kill more than 1 model with dynamite. It's coming. They're always going to forward deploy, whether it's the Preacher Boy or whether it's the Sniper or whether it's, a bunch of different forward deploys, or anyone with a Phobos, anyone with an Alpha Strike. You really need to spread out. So don't be afraid to have a couple models in the open. You're going to lose a couple anyways. You have 14 of them. So if you get first turning point, which you should, take those models and put them on objective points, if they're not in cover. So yeah, I think those are my final few pro tips.
Dang, that's a lot to digest right now. But you know what? The cool thing about this medium is you can always rewind and listen again.
Yeah. Actually, I lied. There's one more.
Ooh.
The best tack ploy in the game for this team is in Death Atonement. I can't tell you how many times I have made Kellen angry because Kellen also plays Vet Guard and he fights me and he kills a model and he's expecting to charge someone else. And I just say in Death Atonement. He's like, oh, I forgot you could do that. But the amount of times, and I'm like, how, Kellen? How'd you forget? No, but in all seriousness, if you're not thinking and you're not playing this team, this gets everyone. It gets Emmanuel. I've gotten Alex Squires. I've gotten everyone with this because people aren't thinking it's the reverse just a scratch. Yes, you can kill my model, but my model will not die. You know, you can't do it on a model that's already been activated. So you have to be careful with when you activate, but, you know, you can stop those double fights from a Space Marine. A Space Marine charges, doesn't fight. You know that they're going to kill your model, charge your leader next, kill your leader. Okay, so they fight your guy, they kill your guy, and who hasn't activated yet because it's the beginning of the next turn. And you say, okay, I'm gonna only in death. And then they're like, I was planning on, you know, I was going to charge it. I don't know. I saw what you're doing, you know, but the smart uses of only in death, because sometimes it might not be worth it to save your plasma. Most of the time it is. Most of the time it is. But there are some occasions where you want to be spicy with it. You have to keep that model locked into close combat. You have to stay on that point. Because there's other times where I've had a Felgor charge a model, kill it, and then expect to like take the point to then loot it. And I'm like, to just a normal guy. And I was like, no, I'm going to only in death. Then I'm going to group activate these two models. I'm going to take this model from on this objective, tap it, move it over to the objective that your guy just killed my model on. And I'm going to use my group activate who just died, steal that objective. And now he's going to die. And you still can't take that point because you still have to kill that other model, because I just stole two more objectives from you because I forward deployed and I went so hard turn one. So there are some really spicy things that you can do within Death Atonement, and don't just save it for your big models. You can use it on your simple ones too.
I mean, I think that's where most people would get salty. You're like, oh, I didn't think you're going to do that. And then you're like, yeah, I did.
Yeah. The salt is real. The demo man and only in Death Atonement makes the salt pour from the pores.
Well, I have one last question to ask you before we wrap this up. You love Vet Guard. Vet Guard are great. What other team do you want to play? Like that you passionately want to either come out and play or that exists and you want to play them?
I have 3, Giacomo.
I know. Go ahead.
I really like Intercession. They are a ton of fun to play. I don't care if people say they're boring. I don't care. They're fun. They're exciting. They're fun. They're Space Marines. They're good. I like them. They do a lot of stuff. They fit my hero aesthetic. I like to play teams that have protagonists and protagonist models.
Uh-huh.
They're all protagonists. They're all good. I would love to see. That's a team that currently exists that I thoroughly enjoy playing. Teams that I look forward to in the future is Striking Scorpions. Games Workshop, don't you dare do me dirty.
Do them dirty, man.
I'm the rumors are out there, and I think the most of the internet knows that these guys are coming, or at least, you know, if they're not coming next, maybe here's a spicy one.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they just want to screw over all the fans. And they're like, oh, in fact, it's not going to be the next box. We're going to make it the box afterwards. So we're going to wait for a super long time to put out the next box. And then the next box after that is going to be the Strike Squad. No, they won't do that. Scouts are coming out soon. So it'll be
very good chance that that's going to be the way to go.
Yeah. At least that's the rumor. that keeps being pushed on the YouTubers. So Striking Scorpions and also Catachan. If Catachan ever come out, I want to play a melee Vetguard team where they have machetes, and I'm not playing some chaos worshipping devil worshippers that all deserve to be burned. No Traitor Guard for me. I would love to play some fun Catachans.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming to the scheduled thing that we have to do, because that's what we do. So, I'm glad you could show up to the thing we do for part of our job. So, do you, this was a lot of fun, actually. I did learn a lot more about Vetguard than I thought, and I thought I knew a pretty good amount already. So, this is a lot of knowledge for me too, and I really like that. Yeah. And I know
hopefully it helps. Hopefully it helps you guys in the future. Maybe you guys can develop tactics versus these dirty Vetguard players,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah. But I can tell you from objectively, this is how I want to play every game. And objectively, this is the same tac ops I take almost every single game. Seize defenses, secure center line, and secure and central control. Almost every single game. Very rarely do I take anything else. So, unless the people are trying to get spicy, but sometimes spicy doesn't work out. So,
yeah, you could take the escort, and you're thinking they're never going to touch this guy, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to kill that Melta today. it doesn't matter. I'll lose a guy. You're not going to get escort operative.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's got to be a hate kill right there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Is there anything you want to shout out?
I'd like to shout out Saya for coming to the AVTT and doing such a stand-up job. She's what makes the events profitable. She's able to take sales, and she also puts in a ton of work behind the scenes through our media. She manages our Instagram, and she does a lot of work. She does a lot of filming. She preps the coffee pot for everyone. She's the heart, soul, background of a lot of this stuff. So, without her, Squad Games would not be the same. Also, I want to shout out G. You were definitely missed at this last tournament. It's definitely it's definitely a three person gig. And you were sorely missed, and I'm glad you're good now.
Yeah, I'll be there next year. Hopefully, no more COVID. That doesn't happen again. Hopefully
next year I'll catch it.
Oh no! Even now, another 2. Man, we're hiring somebody at that point. No, that's good. That's good.
How about you, G? You want to shout out anyone?
Yeah, I do. I want to shout out our patrons again. Thank you so much for doing what you do, and we appreciate everything that you do for us. And, it's awesome. And I want to mention our affiliates one more time: Frontline Gaming, Goblin's Hut, Squad 10 at checkout, and our Game Envy for helping us out at this event. These guys also make it happen. They make it possible. And their stuff's going to be in the notes. So if you want to check them out, feel free to do so. And if you want to find me on the internet, I'm on Instagram at Wargaming Studios, Wargaming_Studios. Right now I'm finishing the rest of my Casterkin. I decided that's what I'm just going to go with because I need to decide and pick a thing to finish. Yeah, and that's
I'm excited to see how those guys turn out. They're looking great, G.
They're looking great. I might redo the basing because I did one with basing right now, and I don't know if I love it, but we'll see.
All right, well, send me pics.
I will. All right, guys.
Until next time.
Until next time. See ya.
Peace.
The Squad Games podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at lestersworkshop.com/squad-games.